And welcome back to Central Valley Talk. I'm Mike Briggs, and this is Newsmakers. What's making news these days? You know, there's an election in, 2.5 weeks maybe. And what's up for election? Of course, the governor, lieutenant governor. People don't know every constitutional office in the state is up for election right now. People have said, well, didn't we just vote on the governor and throw him out or something? Well, he didn't get thrown out, but he's up for election right now. So check your ballot. Now, I think the most important races on the ballot right now are school board. School board affects us and our children and our families more than anything, any other issue. And I think, well, we have a school board candidate here. We're going to talk to her right now. And her name is Tammy McMahon-Gorans. And I was just going to say, I think the school board budget's like the size of the budget for the whole city.
$2.3 billion?
Yeah.
I know it's higher than the city.
Right. Yeah, it's higher than the city.
Absolutely.
People who's our councilman? We got to elect a council. No, school board's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
And you're running now. Let's talk about this area. You're running in the Sunnyside area.
Yes, my name is Tammy McMahon-Gorans, and I am running for Fresno Unified Trustee Area 3.
Number 3.
The Sunnyside District.
Yeah.
And I'm running on the fact that I believe that it's time for positive change.
Positive change, I like that. Now,
So
Sunnyside's the newest high school.
Right.
And the only new one Fresno has built in years and years and years. So it's kind of nice to have a brand new school over there. And I think there's a football stadium.
There is in my backyard.
Oh,
As
you
a
live
matter
right
of
there,
fact,
yeah.
yes, I'm off of Mini Wawa, and we hear the games on Friday nights.
I was
And
going to say they have a football team. That's my way of poking fun
Very
because we
excited.
know they have a good football team.
I already got my first trustee call because I've been knocking on doors. So the other day, I got a call that the lights were left on all night, and can you help?
At the stadium.
So I'm like, if I'm elected, I've already got my first job.
Well, the thing is, those lights are really bright. It costs a lot of money to run them.
Oh, yeah, and
They go in people's windows.
Yes, and they're on more than one night. This is a reoccurring problem. So I already have a problem to solve. But there's a lot more problems than that.
I hope I'm allowed to say this, but you live near the stadium. But my friend Ron Shepard lives near the stadium, and he's endorsed you. His big old sign in his front yard.
Yes, Ronald Shepard reached out to me.
And he's an educator, retired educator, retired principal, and he knows a lot about education. So it means a lot that he endorsed
precious
you.
man. Yes,
Yeah.
I went to his home, and I was given some wonderful coffee, and I sat with him. And he is going to call me back to the house, and we are going to learn. He's going to teach me some things. So
Good. Yeah, no, he knows a lot, and once you're elected, he'll be a great resource for years and years.
absolutely, there's 14 schools in Sunnyside, and there are 10,000 people.
I never would have thought there's 14. There's
Right.
a high school. Is there a junior high?
There are 2 high schools, 2 junior highs, Cambridge, an alternative school, the last stop shop for students who have had some problems in the regular school system, and there are 9 elementary schools. I follow them all on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to follow them, and I am just hoping and praying that I get to be of service.
Good. Now, why are you running?
Okay.
Let's get right to the nuts and bolts of this.
Nuts and bolts. So for 35 years, I am an educator in Lemoore. I taught 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade and 5 years of special education. And then in 2020, my eyes were open to a lot of things going on that were concerning to me. So I joined No Left Turn in Education, and it is an organization. I am now separate from that, but for a year I was the Central Valley chapter lead, and we want no politics in our schools.
Get the politics out.
Yep. We want no indoctrination in our schools, and we want our kids' innocence to be protected. I'm also endorsed by the California Parents United because they know I'm a fire-breathing dragon for the rights of parents.
Good.
And, well, I'm not really a fire-breathing dragon, but I'm trying. And so I started speaking at Fresno Unified Board meetings, and they didn't listen to me.
They weren't good listeners, were they?
No, they were annoyed that I said that I believe, I'm old school, so I believe that teachers being professional, I'm not going to wear any political shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going, the only flag that flies in my classroom and every classroom that actually, they say they're for diversity and inclusion. So if you're for inclusion, there's one flag that includes us all. Give us you're tired, you're weary, you're poor. That's a USA flag and the California flag. But there's a lot of teachers pushing their own agendas and ideologies, and that is wrong.
You're saying politics should be out of that.
Absolutely. What if I was in school? I happen to be a believer, a Christian, but I know that it is not professional for me to teach Christianity to my kids. There's a separation of church and state. So there should be a separation of ideology,
Right.
all kinds of ideologies that are out there that should not be in our classrooms. It divides us. I believe in uniting us, not dividing us.
And that is a lot of divisive stuff happening from the school board to the classroom to the
I
teacher.
watched it. I watched Fresno Unified. I watched it to where they did not wand you and they did not check your purses, but then they started doing things that divided generational families and did social justice. Let's change names and do this right out of 14 months after being out of COVID. Then they're changing school names. And I was in the room the night the Faulkner School was changed. And there were generational families crying out and literally weeping and gnashing of teeth, because that's what this does, is divides us.
Yeah.
And and I don't want to speak disparagingly, but Valerie Davis was the president that night, and 3 times her peers, Johannes Rosas, I don't know if I said her name right, they said, please second the motion. This has not had due process. But that order went through that night simply because they could.
In one night.
Oh, yeah. And Valerie Davis said, we've talked to everyone. We've done everything. And the Faulkner family is in the back saying, we never heard anything.
Yeah.
And so they left that night in shame. I have wanted to know, what is their phone numbers? If anybody's listening that knows the Faulkner family, please reach out to me, because I want to apologize.
I always feel government that moves slowly, it's not such a bad idea. You don't want overnight, changes and behind the scenes changes and little input. You want a lot of input and
No, they executed a decision because they simply could. And and Valerie was asked, please rescind this 3 times. Anybody can go back and watch the video. There's also another thing that I wanted to share, because I did listen to the Valerie Davis interview. So I was like, no. So I wanted to share about COVID.
Okay.
Because Valerie Davis said, we did what we had to do. We had no choice. So I want to bring to you a different mindset. I worked for Lemoore Unified. There were other small districts. So in the fall of we were shut down March, April, May, June, the end of 2020. But in the fall of 2020, there were many districts that wanted to go back. I promise you this. Everybody go research it. The American Pediatrics came out with they say follow the science, with a share. It's safe for schools to return, kids to return. The next day, the big interest money, I'm not going to say who, said, I double dog dare you to open our schools. A couple days later, I watched this all in real time because I was just besides myself. Gavin Newsom shut down the schools. A couple days later, Bob Nelson said we're closed to Zoom for the whole year. So our district, I love my district, Lemoore Union, our board members and our superintendent said we will go the extra mile for kids. So we did whatever it took. We filed for a waiver. November 1st of 2020, we safely opened. We followed all guidelines. I interviewed the nurse because I was afraid that if I come public with this, will they attack me? And we all lived, and we followed all guidelines. And the nurse that I interviewed, the head nurse of Lemoore, said, we were so sure that we would follow all guidelines and the CDC came out with a new guideline to go up in a hot air balloon, go up in the air, stand on our head for 20 seconds and come back down. We would do whatever it takes for kids. So that kind of attitude and excitement, and I will go to any lengths for kids. That's what I want to bring to Fresno Unified. So I just wanted to get on here with you and say, no, Mike, there is a way. We can. We do hard things as leaders, and then we teach our kids they can do hard things.
Right. Maybe you heard me tell the story that, when I got to the legislature as a member, maybe a third of the legislature was school board members. A third was county supervisor, and a third was former councilmen. But the school board members who fought against the state interceding in their district are now in the legislature, and now it's like they drink the water or something. Now they're trying to have undue influence on the districts. I feel the power. Well, I shouldn't say what I feel. Some say the power belongs with the school board, not with the state or federal government.
Well, let me talk about this.
Okay.
I'm not paid by, there's one person in Northwest Fresno that has $160,000 of special interest money supporting her. I'd be concerned about that.
Yeah.
Valerie Davis has over $50,000. There's another person. Eastless is highly funded. So when there's favors, you owe favors.
You owe favors.
You know what I have? I just have money that's come in like manna, like daily bread, and I'll go throw up a couple signs, and I just praise the Lord for it. And I represent the people. So I don't owe anybody anything, and I'll fight for kids. I'll fight for parents. You need to know what your rights are. I also went to a California for Equal Rights conference down in San Diego about 5 weeks ago. And I found out I'm all for ethnic studies. I'm all for teaching history. But please don't teach our kids to hate each other or blame each other or to hate our country. So Gavin Newsom in 2019, there was an ethnic studies program that would not see the light of day. And the ethnic studies was anti-Semitic. Anyway, they did a couple edits and it went through. But what is happening is the big school districts are adopting that liberated ethnic studies that has some really bad things in it. So as a board member, I can be a guard for and against that kind of stuff.
Right. Now, who can vote for you? Is it vote by district or is it vote at large?
Yes, it's the Sunnyside district.
So only people who live in District 3, Area 3 can vote in that.
Exactly.
Very good. So how many people do you have to reach?
Well, there are 10,000 students in that district, and I've just been going door to door.
There's 20, 30,000 grown-ups.
14, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. Some are registered, some are not, but you got to get to the registered voters somehow.
I'm just knocking on doors.
Knocking on doors.
Absolutely.
We call it grassroots. That's how I got elected to my races.
You give me hope. You did.
Well, you just knock
grassroots.
knock. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So there's hope for me,
I was
right?
like you. I didn't have the big money coming in and stuff
No.
when I got elected. So go to the door. People will like you. You're a very likable person. You're knowledgeable. You could tell. You know what you're talking about. You actually did the job as a teacher, which is not an easy job.
Yes, I've been in the classroom for 35 years, so I know what teachers go through. I know what they need, and I will root for them. And yes, absolutely.
Okay. Now, the Sunnyside district, is it a safe district? Does it need safety? Is it going one way, going another? What does it need?
Well, that's one of the things that I'm running on is academics first, politics out of schools, represent parents well, and let them know what they have the right to opt out of if it goes against their religious beliefs. So I represent parents. And then also actually do something about safe schools. So I worked in Lemoore. This is what a concept. We had SOR officers on all the campuses, high school, junior high, elementary. I believe that if the SRO officers are good enough for the board members, I've even seen them deliver food to the board members, like their servants. Wow. So,
not
and
nice.
then,
I said nice, but not nice.
Yeah, but when they were changing the school name, then they wanted escort to their car because they knew that they made people angry.
SRO, what is that?
Oh, SRO are the safety officers.
Okay.
So they're police officers. And I just subbed a couple weeks ago in Lemoore, and there was a SRO officer on the front of the campus. I look at all the people because I'm a very good people reader. I'm like, does anybody look scared? No, they look pretty safe.
Pretty safe.
So why can't Fresno Unified be safe? They were trying to fight to get a fence at Bullard High. That's not my district. But that didn't happen because the board members, some of them, were not for safety. Fact is, they voted to take the police off.
Boy.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard people say recently, how hard would it be to fence a school? Is that an answer?
Well,
keep the bad guys out and those who are supposed to be in? All
Lemoore Union Elementary School districts are fenced all the way around, secure at the front. There's only one way to go in, and there's SRO officers. So if my school, this is what I'm bringing. I have had a couple. There's some people in Fresno that are not very nice. And I've had someone that has threatened me and been not very nice. Now, I don't want any pity, but what I'm saying is I'm telling that story because I told Jose Flores. He's the city council mayor.
In Clovis.
In Clovis.
Yeah.
So I told him. I met him. Fernando Buenelos is running in
Buenelos,
Parlier.
Fernando.
So I was supporting Fernando because he's a good friend. And I met Jose Flores and I said, listen, there's people that are doing intimidation tactics and trying to scare me to not run, like bullies.
Yeah.
And so Jose Flores said, Tammy, that's what you run on.
That's what you run on. We're
You
trying to get
run
the bullying
on-
out of the schools and bullying out of the school board. So.
Yeah, so you run on the fact that you're bringing a breath of fresh air to Fresno Unified, that you come from a district that went to any length for kids.
Right.
So that's what I'll bring to Fresno Unified. So I don't have the history like Valerie. I do have my stepkids were raised in Fresno Unified, went to Faulkner, Roosevelt School. So I do have that, but I don't have the history. But by golly, give me a chance, please.
Great. Tammy McMahon-Gorans.
Yes.
It's time for positive change. We're out of time, but I want to give you one last chance. Any other thoughts before we're totally out of time?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. So Tammy McMahon-Gorans for Trustee Area 3. So you can find that. My website is TAMMYMAC, that card that's up on the screen right now.
It's going to come up as we close.
TAMMYMAC, the number 4, FUSD.com.
I'll put it up there for a
And that
second.
tells my story. It tells why I'm running. It tells my issues. And if you like what I have to say, please give someone a chance to bring positive change. And I am so grateful to
Do you need help in the campaign? Is there something people can do? Help
Well,
you go door to door or something?
I'd love help. So I was knocking on doors this morning, a precious woman. I gave her a big hug. She was concerned about some issues. I gave her a hug. And yes, I'm just doing it on my own. With my brother came from Sacramento and helped.
Nice.
And I have a man that I knocked on one door and he likes me. So he said, bring me some flyers and I'll hand them out.
He'll hand them out.
So-
That's what you call grassroots.
I'd
Anyway,
love the help,
You're a
Mike.
great person. You got the experience. You got the right ideas.
Thank you.
And you have so much energy. I'm exhausted just talking to you.
Well, you got to get, when you teach second grade, and I'll
Yeah,
be going
yeah.
in a fourth grade class next week, you've got to get their attention and you've got to get them excited. So that's what I'm going to bring to the board.
As you're going to bring to the board.
Yes.
Tammy McMahon.
Gorans.
You tell me if I get it wrong. Tammy McMahon-Gorans, Fresno Unified School District Area 3. It's time for positive change. Sunnyside area, I'm just reading it off the screen.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I don't
Mike,
get it
you're
wrong.
doing great.
And we will be back with more Central Valley Talk right after this.
Thank you so much, Mike.